Hello everyone, welcome to this little lesson. Well, today we're going to be painting the raven, and it's going to be really fun. So I hope you stick around and watch this whole lesson, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow my channel. I started off with acrylic paint. These two colors, I just put a blob of primary red and light pink on this canvas I got at Michael's. This is a 10 by 10. You can get them for $12.99. You can get like 5 of them or something. So it's a super good deal. And I decided to start with this kind of pink background. You know, you just got to mix it up a little sometimes. I paint a lot of paintings, and there's different ways to do it. And this one, you'll get the reference photo on Patreon. But also I did a little sketch because I want to integrate some different things into it that, you know, I just can't find in one reference photo. So I did a little sketch, really rough sketch before I started. And it looks terrible, but I know what I'm doing with it. I've got my reference photo here, but then I'm going to put in some fir trees in the background. So I'll spruce that little sketch up a little, and I'll put it on Patreon so you guys can see where I got my idea from. So I'm going to start off just doodling. Let me just use kind of like this Princeton Catalyst brush. It's kind of got a nice, kind of a little bit more flexible, but a little more stiff. These are synthetic bristles, and so for a canvas, I kind of like to work with that. So I'll just use something kind of not too heavy duty color-wise, some burnt sienna and some ultramarine blue, just to get sort of a neutral. And then I'm gonna sort of sketch out. So the bird in the reference is sitting on a fence, but I'm gonna put him on a fir tree. Sort of a fir in the front, and then I'll have some fir trees in the background. So we're gonna get his little head in there, sort of looking at the main shapes. Shapes and angles is what I look for, and then down the wing we go. And don't need to be too picky. The good thing about painting ravens is you can just sort of, can always just throw in some more feathers to sort of, you know, add a little drama to it. So I just sort of just looking at the basic shapes, and I like the angle of his beak and head. And we've got a little bit wider there. We make it a little wider. And it's always a challenge when I do these videos because I'm drawing kind of downwards, so don't want to complain because I'm not aiming for my best painting. I'm just aiming to get what would be my best painting if I was totally focused on making that painting, but I'm giving you kind of the overview. And it's best from this downward facing camera angle. So I'm not making a masterpiece, but it's going to be good. I like painting these crows. So I'm getting the kind of overall drawing in there. And like I say, I really pay attention to the angle of, you know, how his neck comes down to the body. And same with here, sort of looking at that. And then you got the wing, and you got this whole chest area here. And you sort of keep adding as you go. And then we got this under area here and the legs. Can't forget the legs. Okay, so There we go. And then this is going to be a fir branch. And then maybe I'll get a little bit of green in there. And kind of, I've got another reference photo that I'll post, and it's got some fir trees in the distance. So these are going to be real abstract, you know, like we're not going for super realistic. These are going to be more kind of in the background, but I'll kind of sketch them out a bit. I've had requests, you know, I always kind of keep the backgrounds really simple in my Raven paintings, you know, kind of keep it more modern. And you look at what other artists do and you kind of think, well, that's kind of neat, you know, but I'm really big on trees. I grew up in Canada, so I love trees. And so you're getting kind of more what's going on in my noggin when I'm thinking of what kind of painting would be cool for a raven painting. And someone else said that they would like to see more going on with trees with the raven. So I thought, well, that's pretty interesting, because I always kind of think about it, but then don't do it. So you got to trust your gut sometimes. Trust the old gut. So there you go. There's some action in the background, and I like that so far. So we'll just put that in the win column for now. And you could put a little more sap green. Also got a really, this is water mixable oil, by the way. And I've got, there's a green that's sort of like a blacky green. And it's a new color to me. It's this one here. Perylin green, black. So you can see the name. I don't know how to say it right, but that's what it is. And I thought some of that in there would be kind of nice for the block in. So just carry on with that, and we can work on the details of all that later. I'm just going to keep blocking in. And get some, I've just got out some black here. It's the lamp, wait a minute, that's not the one I'm using. Ivory black. Ivory black. I also have lamp black, and I'm not sure which one's darker, but I'm using, for this painting, I'm using the ivory black. And we'll just block it all in, and then we'll add all the details back. And I just really enjoy painting these. I like the whole feeling of the way they look with the black and everything, and I know a lot about these birds from living in the Pacific Northwest. So if any of you live in the Pacific Northwest and can relate, or wherever you live, if you have these birds, let me know in the comments what you think. My mom in Canada feeds them. She'd always feed them peanuts, and then if she didn't put them out one day, they'd be at the window, knocking away at the window, trying to get her to come out and feed them. So they're pretty smart. And for the trees off in the distance, I'm going to add some cobalt blue and a little bit of white to that green mixture that I've got going on there. And I'll use some of that black, that Paraline green black color, and I'm just going to dab in a few shapes that give you the impression of those trees. And I don't use a lot of medium, but I do like the quick dry medium. The other mediums, this really helps it dry quick, and also it does help your water mixable oil kind of glide on a little bit easier. So I'll add a little bit of that to my palette, just because on canvas the paint just doesn't glide as smoothly as when you use regular oil. You can kind of use the Gamsol. So when you're not using that stuff, this helps a bit. Also, it dries shiny, and it does cut the drying time, and water mixable oil does dry a little slower. So if you're not using water mixable oil, you could just use some green like Viridian and mix it with black, and I think you kind of get a similar color, or phthalo green and black. You get a certain similar color. Okay, we're not going to get too into that right now. I've got the base for those trees and all the green. Everything's pretty much blocked in. So now I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to work on going back to the crow. So I'm going to switch to a little smaller brush. I've got these Velvet Touch little flat brushes. They work really well, and I'm going to work on the detail on our little buddy here. I'm going to mix a little cobalt blue and white, and then I'm going to get some of this black, and I'm going to make a mix of kind of black with that cobalt. So you can see it mixes up some nice kind of neutral gray colors. So now I want to get that beak in there. It's hard because of the glare to see kind of what I got going, but I'm gonna Gonna do it. And then I get a little bit of a lighter shade so I can see better the difference there. Get that old beak in there. And underneath the beak, there's some light gray in there too. And then around the eye, I like to get really where that kind of, there's a little light around the eyelid. So I will block that in. It will be a little bit wide, but then I go get some black again. And kind of block in again the inside. And I'll go back and get some more black and keep kind of pushing and pulling, you know, the shape a little so you get something that you can work with. And now I can sort of see a little more what's going on. I'll shape, put a little more, I need to see the light on Crow's head, so I added a little blue to that, and I need to give a little bit more space behind the eye there. Looks like he's wearing a hat now. And I'm just on here. This will be the most time consuming part of it, just getting that angle of the beak and everything as good as you can, because it's a little challenging, that part. It's gonna get a little black on my brush and sort of kind of blend in. Like that. right? It's not doing too bad. Let's get some more of that gray. Really try to make sure I got the shape I want. And then get some black, and you can kind of get into a little bit of that beak detail there. Just put a little bit of that shine on the eye, and then I gotta go back and fix that. It's just really hard to see for me where because of the glare. All right, and then get a little bit of light on the eye there so he looks alive for us. And then I'll get a little more light colored paint and touch up the nose a little, the beak, I mean, and okay. Let's keep looking at the angles here, then kind of underneath the beak here. Touch that up a bit, and then get some of your lighter gray, blue color, and you can start to shape a little bit more of the lighter parts of the where the light's hitting the raven. Well, I think I'll move on for now from that part. That's the toughest part. Now we got to decide what to do about the background and everything. So I think what I'll do is we can mix something up that looks sort of like a winter sky. That's similar to the color I've got underneath, but I'm going to go with more of a mixture. So I'm going to go with, let's see, some of this, that sort of orangey kind of sky that you see in the Pacific Northwest. And so I'll mix up a few kind of varieties of it. But you do see these real kind of yellowy skies and if you're not used to that, then you'll think I'm mixing up something kind of crazy, but I kind of want to keep it similar to the background color. Just kind of work around the crow a bit more here. And that way, if I miss a spot, it's not such a big deal. And I'm just trying to leave that the trees for now. But you can see I'm leaving some of that pinky color here and there just for fun. So it's a different approach than I did in some of the other paintings where I just left the basic background showing. This one's a little bit more, I would call it a little more of an advanced way of doing the scene. And I'm just going to switch my paintbrush to a smaller one. In a minute, and then I'll start to work on the color of the where I'll work on the color of the trees. I just gotta plug in my light. It just kind of shut off because it's ran out of battery. There. There we go. I want to get a little bit of a lighter tone around the beak and everything. Make sure I put those legs in there. I almost forgot. Leave the space there. So this part just takes time because you're trying to get it between branches and everything, but it's definitely going to be good. Add a little bit of cobalt and black, and just add a little bit of detail to the raven's wings. So you have these kind of layers of feather They kind of show off the different layers of the wing. So I kind of leave some of the black between the spaces there. Get a little blue on wherever there's kind of a highlight there. I'll use a little bit of that cobalt blue and black mixture with it has a little bit of white in it. Try to blend that a bit. Then I'm going to go back to my trees now, and I'm going to lighten up that mixture that I used to kind of draw them in to this sort of nice gray color. And I'm going to have to stand up and do this because it's too much glare. I'm going to just put in some lighter colors of that same, lighter values of the same kind of color mix there. And I want to make sure I get those trees lighter, than the crow's wing, the raven's wing, so that it really shows up. So just gonna keep going here. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can so the video isn't, hours and hours long. But you can definitely, take your time and, really you can get into the details more. And we got the kind of in between here where the raven's wings are and everything. So you kind of want to carry that through. This tree comes down through the wing. So I'll stick to something kind of light there. I won't get into too much of that detail, like the tree, you could, really work on some small detail to show you a little bit, like just put a few, smaller details like that in there so you can show it off more. But I'm not going to get into that too much because it's just going to take way too long. But I think you get the idea. Add a little more cobalt blue and some more white. Get a little bit more detail in the wings a bit. Those legs going in there. And then you want to, get some of the feather work going too. So you drag some into that background, but then make sure to wipe off your brush. Like I've always said, you'll get too much of the light paint mixing in. So I always keep my paper towel going right, at the same time. And then you got the tail kind of goes in behind the tree. So now you can, I'll switch gears. So I'll go to my larger brush here. And I'm gonna add a bit more of a variety to the green in the foreground. So I'll get a little bit of that green and some burnt sienna, so it's kind of dull it down a little, some of that sap green that I got. And you could and we'll just make it a little lighter, and maybe I'll add a little red to it. I don't want it to be so bright, so just put in a few lighter notes there. And now you can kind of see it's starting to come together a bit more. And add a little bit of that cobalt blue in the mix and more white. Just sort of add a little more detail there. Especially I want to be a little bit lighter in front of where the crow's tail feathers are, so I can show that edge really well. Okay, and I'll take it up a little notch higher even, I'll add a tiny touch of yellow in there, and just where I want to show off some more detail here. Keep it simple and loose. painting this raven is one of my favorite things to do. Raven and trees, both favorite subject matters. And okay, so now I've got a lot more going on. You could take a brush and sort of soften it, or if you take like a paper towel, you could sort of take the edge of a paper towel and just scuff it along the trees a little. It's going to soften some of those marks. Softens them up. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my little brush, this little catalyst brush here, and I'm going to mix up a little more of that quinacridone magenta, and that's some burnt sienna and a little white. Kind of get back to that original mix. I think I added some Indian yellow in there. And I'll kind of add a little bit of that into the trees. We got to get that in there between. You can always adjust it later. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything here. And if you didn't put the legs in there, it'd be perfectly fine. You don't need to. I kind of like that, but we're gonna add some more pine needles up there too, just to sort of help it not sit so like your eye goes kind of to it too much, I feel. So you kind of just have to adjust it, as you go. And I think, as always, I always underestimate how much white I need to put out. And I'm just going to keep my brush clean and mix up some more of that background. And I'm gonna go and just put a few of those little pine needles, so it's not so sharp an edge, is what I mean to say. Mix a little bit of that gray in there, just so there's some color harmony. Just kind of put a few notes of that in there. And I'll just add a little more white in there. And dull some of these down a bit. Well, I think that about does it. If you like this lesson, don't forget to share it with a friend and, like it and all the rest, so I can keep going here and making more videos for you. They really helps to have that encouragement. And also, if you have any questions about the video or anything just related to the video, just leave it a comment below. And if you like the video, also you can leave a comment and say, hey, I like the video. And I hope you like this video. I really enjoy this painting a lot. It's probably one of my favorites. And it came from my imagination / reference photo. And I'll put the reference photo out there if you're on Patreon. And I hope you enjoy, and happy painting, everyone.